NASA's John F. Kennedy Space Center, where he oversees a team of 15,000 civil service and contractor employees. Prior to his appointment as Center Director at the Kennedy Space Center in October of 2008, Mr. Bob Cabana, veteran of 4 space shuttle missions, served as the Director of NASA's Stennis Space Center in Mississippi. And prior to that, he served as the Deputy Center Director of the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Bob Cabana.
A couple of times in the hopes that we have a little more clear definition of where we're going. And we're still working on that. But I think we have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen and how we're preparing for it. First off, how many of you were at the National Space Club lunch about a month and a half ago? All right, show of hands. Okay, good. Now, those of you that heard that talk then, your job is to figure out what I've changed in it today. Fall asleep. There's a few changes, and I'm going to quiz you afterwards to make sure you caught. For the rest of you, I think you'll find, hopefully, that an interesting path forward for the Kennedy Space Center this time of change and transition. Transitions are hard, and change isn't easy, okay? But I believe, we have an outstanding future here at KSC. And our future is what we define it as. It's how we make it. And, we can have it dictated to us, or we can take action as a community and work together to make the future the best it can possibly be for KSC in the surrounding area. And I believe that's what we're doing. I think we've defined some clear goals on what we need for a robust space center that isn't as susceptible to large programs coming and going, and puts us in the best position for the long haul. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. I think what's on a lot of your minds is the bills that have been through the House and Senate Authorization and Appropriations committees on what's going to happen to NASA in our budget. And I think if you sit back and look at it, there are a lot of positives in all of them. And we're not there yet. Our government process is one of compromise. And the President proposed his budget back in February, and then we had hearings, and the House and the Senate have come up with what they think NASA should be doing, and there's going to have to be some compromise between them. So we finally get to a budget that we can enact and work with. But I think some of the key things that should be noted from the 4 committees that looked at where NASA ought to be going is, first off, it's very positive supporting us. It's a $19 billion budget at full funding, a $6 billion increase over the next 5 years. That's very important. That didn't change. There's direction to develop a heavy lift vehicle. We were working on heavy lift technologies. Now it's a little clear that we need to actually develop a vehicle and move forward to get us out of low Earth orbit. There's direction to continue with commercial space and make that viable for access to low Earth orbit. I think of great importance to the Kennedy Space Center is support for the 21st century launch complex. How we modify KSC, improve our infrastructure, and actually help us to enable commercial space and make it happen as we develop that heavy vehicle and crew vehicle that's going to take us exploring beyond our home planet. All 4 of the committees endorsed technology development, new technologies, and what we need to do there. I think that they recognize that NASA's greatest resource is the people. And I say that all the time. The hardware is phenomenal. It's amazing when you look at what we have and what we do. But none of that is possible without the people. That's what actually makes it happen. And we have the most talented, dedicated workforce anywhere. And we have some skills that we need to capture and maintain and hold on to as we transition into the future. And we're working very hard to do that. We'll talk more about that. I think along those lines, talking about the people, it's this community. You are not just the people that live and work adjacent to the Kennedy Space Center. Our communities are the Kennedy Space Center. We are all in this together. And if we don't work together as one team, defining where we want to go and how we're going to get there, supporting one another, we are not going to be successful. has to be a team effort, a partnership between government, industry, and the local community. And I think that we've made great strides in that regard in the last couple of years. We'll talk more about that. I sincerely want to thank the community support that we have and our elected officials for the support that they've shown us here at KSC. When you look at the nearly $30 million that the state gave us, $15 million from Department of Labor, I think folks recognize the importance of this area, the community here, the jobs here, and they're working to help us make it better. First slide. Let's talk a little bit about, first off, what's the same, what's changed, where are we going here at KSC? The Launch Services Program. This has been a main staple here at KSC for a long time. We have the program that procures the vehicles that launch NASA payloads to space. They're doing an outstanding job. This year is a little slow compared to last year. We've had 2 launches so far. The Solar Dynamics Observatory is learning about our sun. We launched a GOES-P weather satellite here a little while ago. Our next launch isn't going to be until this fall out at Vandenberg. But we're preparing for 5 launches next year. The team is working on a new launch services contract for the program. And I think when you look at what LSP does, they're an excellent model for how we move to commercial operations here at KSC. Now, future commercial operations may be exactly like LSP, but somewhere we can't have human spaceflight the way shuttle is either. We have to do a better job, and we'll talk more about commercial ops, but I think it's a great starting place. We're going to use what LSP has done, capture that, and help us make commercial crew a viable option. Next slide. Space shuttle. I think everybody finally realizes now that the space shuttle program is coming to an end. When I got here a little less than 2 years ago, that was the very first thing I said. The space shuttle program is going to end, and we need to prepare for it. And I think we as a community have accepted that. We have 2 more flights for sure, one in November, and then one next February launching the magnetic spectrometer of the space station. And with the Senate compromise, if things work out, we would be launching that Launch on Need vehicle in June of next year, getting us a 3rd flight. From my point of view, I would really like to see that for a number of reasons. When we had shuttle transitioning the end of September this year, and the Constellation program, that was okay because we had a transition plan that moved that workforce over into Constellation, and things were pretty well defined. With the cancellation of the Constellation program, it made it much harder to define how we were going to transition that workforce. By flying the shuttle and keeping the majority of that workforce available a little bit longer, another year, it helps us with a more orderly transition of that workforce to the new programs. So I think that's going to be good for us, and we'd like to see that happen. For 30 years, come next April 12th, the space shuttle's been flying and doing an absolutely phenomenal job. And I know the transition at the end of that program was a difficult thing to accept as a community, as a workforce here at KSC. Many of us have made our careers out of the space shuttle program. We have a lot invested in it, not just in money and time, but from us. And it's certainly been a part of me in my career here at NASA. But what I tell folks is, and we have an opportunity to recognize workers within NASA and the shuttle program for the outstanding job they've been doing in spaceflight awareness events when they get to come down and see a launch. And we meet over in the Saturn V facility with all these folks underneath that Saturn rocket. And you sit there and you look at that Apollo Saturn rocket and you say, wow, what a phenomenal program. But on the launch pad behind us, there's a space shuttle, an equally phenomenal program. And we transitioned from shuttle, or from Apollo, from a lunar program, to shuttle. It wasn't easy. That was a tremendously difficult time for this area. We went from a workforce of contractor civil service workforce of 25,000 people down to